Greetings, everyone. Coinstamp here, or Swirling Vortex '09, excuse me. I go by both monikers. You can also call me Steven if you'd like. And welcome back to an episode of Grim Dawn, Dawn of Masteries. It's been like a month. I do apologize about that. I've been, well, let's just say my bill of health hasn't been the best as of lately. That being said, you didn't come here to listen to that. You came here for a recap. Last time, we went through and explored a good chunk of area that was sort of up here. We went and had to go... I'm sorry. It really has been quite a hot minute. Essentially, we have two tasks that we're trying to get done. One, we need to find Angrim, because that'll unlock the blacksmithing. Second goal, secure the portal in Burwitch. Once we do that, the rest of our quests should open up fairly nicely. Without further ado, let's get started. So, I got some announcements I want to make, and those announcements are mostly the, well, first, before I make the announcements, we have a reconnaissance report to read, because it's lore. Lore is worth experience. Since this is a little scrunched, I'll go ahead and read it for us. The Burwitch Recon Report. I pray one of us makes it through this nightmare to deliver the report. The lives of those hiding in Devil's Crossing may depend on it. As instructed, my team has braved the wilderness of Whitemire and made it to the outskirts of Burwitch. The situation there is worse than we feared. We encountered no survivors. The Aetherial takeover of the region is now complete. What we found baffling, however, is the heavy concentration of enemy activity within Burwitch itself. In our previous encounters with the Aetherials, they seem unfocused, spread out across the wilderness in no predictable pattern, but this seems almost deliberate, as if they were swayed to keep watch over something important. I regret to report that, without a larger force at our disposal, even breaching the city walls would incur heavy casualties and thin our already struggling ranks. While I understand completely that our situation is dire, and we are desperate for new sources of supplies and food, I cannot recommend a direct engagement with enemy force at Burwitch. It is a suicide mission. We need to be prepared for the eventuality that the enemy gathered at Burwitch will mobilize upon Devil's Crossing. Should it come to that, we must be prepared to flee once more. So, yeah, I mean, just to give you a sense of... Things were rough as soon as the Ethereal Awakening happened. Things are even more intense and dire now, as those who are struggling to survive at the Burwitch prison probably can't do so without our help. I believe the one thing I do want to do is change the loot filter. The loot filter, this is a good time to go over it. I think I've gone over it before, but let's do it again. The loot filter is a set of... how do I put this? It's a set of conditions, basically. You turn them on. I'll make sure we turn these on. So, if you turn them on, or off, rather, if you turn them off, you won't see, anything that isn't what you have a check mark by. So we have common and magic items turned off. So that means the lowest quality item we're gonna see is a rare or a monster infrequent. Whereas... and this is the quality is probably the most important loot filter you have, I would say, out of all of them. If at some point, like, if we get post 50, we probably aren't going to even care about anything that isn't dropping off of a monster infrequent. So we would uncheck even rare. I would only adjust these if, and I do mean if, we needed cash. If we needed cash, then I would pretty much reset the quality filters, and I would just go grind for cash. That is essentially what would happen. The other probably really important one is the type. So let's say you know your build. Like, you've played Grim Dawn before. You know exactly which build you're going for. You know the exact weapon you want. You know where it drops. And you're only interested in that one weapon. You're not interested in other marginal upgrades. You're not interested in an offhand. You're not interested in any of that. You could checkmark you could hide all of these other types, and you will only get weapon types that match what you have turned on. Our build isn't exactly the most solid yet, so we're gonna leave most of these on. The 3 categories for type pretty much split up how you expect. There are several filters for weapons. There's one where you can either see armor or you don't, as well as accessories and components. Don't turn off your components. The components are the most important part of the game. They help augment your gear. Now, so the other really important half of this is like damage types, right? So we are a lightning and fire build, and we also focus a tad bit on cold. We don't really do much else. So actually filtering our loot by damage type would be pretty useful. If you only use acid damage, like you're an occultist or something, then turn off anything that isn't related to damage types you can use. Granted, most of the base Grim Dawn Masteries use a lot of different damage types. The builds are kind of all over the place. So filtering by damage type, I would say, is more useful if you're playing mods where you can hyper-focus or semi-focus the build. Otherwise, you're gonna find you might filter by, okay, this is the most common damage type I have access to, and this is how often it comes on cooldown. That's what I really care about. Character filters. Oh, also, before I go to character filters, pet bonuses. If you're a pet class, Necromancer's the thing I think of with this one. But if you summon totems, if you summon animals, if you summon demons or the undead, you might want to turn on your pet bonuses. They might be very useful to you. Character. So, your masteries. So if you have... There are items that say increase the rank of X skill or X mastery by Y number. The one I could think of is like, there are items that will increase our frost bomb, right? I know, or ice bomb, excuse me. I know there are items that do this in Dawn of Masteries. If I wanted to specifically look for items of any rarity that boost ice bomb, I could do that by making sure I select that my masteries are the ones that are chosen. If, however, you would like to look for other items for future-proofing, for example, if in our build instead we were wanting to, say, I don't know, get a mastery for chain lightning. If we wanted to do that, or if we wanted one for, not electrocute, but if we wanted one for fire nova, then that would be what other mastery is for. Where is our lovely loot filter? It's L. Yeah, O on your keyboard will let you access your loot filter anytime. In terms of other stuff, the stuff we care about is probably crit damage, cooldown reduction, and casting speed. The rest is like, okay, yeah, we need offensive ability. Yeah, defensive ability is nice, but those don't actively... there are lots of stuff with offensive and defensive abilities on it, so filtering it just for offensive or defensive ability is not going to help you much. Your loot filter is probably not going to be... It's going to be inundated. It won't actually do anything for you. You might as well just return it to default. And of course, if you put it to default, then the rest of... then it just goes back to normal. We'll just go ahead and sift by these. And we should be good. Those are things that are going to help sculpt our build right now. And I would say more than anything, we probably want crit damage and casting speed more than we want a cooldown reduction. The only reason we want a cooldown reduction is for Ice Bomb, and it is up fairly often. And we only want Ice Bomb as a Ice Bomb and Teleport as spacing tools. If we don't need spacing tools, Electrocute is pretty much available on cooldown at any time. Casting speed and crit damage or critical strike chances are way more important. I'm just gonna I need to figure out what I'm doing with the window here. I'm not sure why this is an issue. Sorry, I'm trying to get things in a good position on OBS. It would be nice if there was separate loadouts for YouTube and Twitch. There are not. I just gotta move docks. That's all there is to it. Let's return to the Burwitch outskirts. I believe that is where Duncan is. Yep, sure is. That's exactly where he is. So, we need to beeline it for Angrim, so we can talk to him. We hope that we can resolve things peacefully. Spoiler, we will. There's no reason to go approach violence unless you're doing a roleplay build on NPCs or for your character for any reason.
That skill's not ready.
And unfortunately, once we gotta be really careful here. So of course, with Grim Dawn, and Grim Dawn, Dawn of Masteries to be specific, we have access to custom enemies, custom mobs. We have access to more frequent nemesis spawns, or hero spawns. Nemesis and heroes don't refer to the player character. They refer to the rank of power the enemy has. See, look, normally we would have hundreds of items to worry about. And now it's sorted by... It's relatively more reasonable. Like if we look at our inventory, instead of having buckets of loot, we actually can reasonably sort it. Which is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And of course, if we do want to pick anything up... Actually, we can't pick it up if it isn't on the loot filter. Oh, wow. Interesting. I want to thank... there's a specific commenter on my previous Grim Dawn episode 2 that I'd like to thank. I think his name's Carl, but I want to look it up to be sure. Nope, this will bring me to the live episode. I don't want it. This would be here. Yep, Carl, yep, their name's Carl. The loot filters are for the stuff on the ground. Thank you, Carl. Appreciate it. Carl with a K. Very useful stuff. I should probably be employing loot filters in all of my action RPGs or hack and slash looters. I think I remember employing like those sorts of loot filters And I never employed them in Diablo. I would always just... I knew what I was looking for. But in something like Last Epic or Path of Exile, where there's just so much crap, or I say crap, it's loot. And it is good loot to have. A loot filter would be a practical requirement in those kinds of games where the systems are more nebulous. They're not as easy to figure out as Diablo, where it kind of tells you what's important. And I say Diablo tells you what's important. It does it within limit. So, like, it'll tell you all the stuff your class can use, but it won't necessarily, and it will drop things of other classes for you, but you know right away you can't use them. The icons change. Oh no. Yeah, please don't do that. This is a mod, for the record. It's a mod, which means it's not the most stable thing in the world. That being said, Dawn of Masteries, you can find this on, Nexus mods. If you just look at, like, the most popular mods for Grim Dawn, you'll find it. Along with the Grimarillion, which essentially, what Grim Dawn, Dawn of Masteries does is it adds a whole bunch of extra masteries for you to choose from, and on top of that, it allows you to add additional... I think I've said this before. It allows you the opportunity to tinker with the amount of mobs present in a room, as well as how strong they are. How many nemesis spawns, or hero, or elite spawns are you going to have? You know, you can tailor how hard you'd like the game to be, not just... Did you check mark veteran mode, hardcore mode? Those are your challenges, that's it. As far as I understand. I'm always willing to be proven wrong, and I'm more than glad to eat egg if it's actually not right. But as far as I can tell, with just a little bit of precursory digging that I did before starting this project, and the amount of time I spent playing Dawn of Masteries beforehand, there are no methods for changing the difficulty like that. You have to complete the game first. And I think I may have been up to like Act 3 or 4, and this game has like 6 acts, not counting DLC, which is its own separate act. If not, like, having multiple acts at the same exact time.
That skill's not ready.
So, this location here, in the Burwitch outskirts, this is the first time we're seeing them. Like, we saw a few of them, but we kind of just stumbled into the camp. I didn't necessarily want to say anything right away. But these are the other major faction, the Chthonians. You know, Cthulhu, or Azathoth, or Yog-Sothoth, or any of the other eldritch outer entities. That's pretty much... They're all part of the same tapestry. It's all loosely and or tightly inspired by the outer gods or Lovecraftian horrors, however you want to say it. So let's do a little bit of reading. Chthonians, horrors from the void, are the things of nightmares. Prior to the grim dawn, Chthonians would only be seen upon Cairn, that's the setting, following an arcane ritual gone wrong, or at the beckoning of a powerful sorcerer. Despite an effort to exterminate the practice, a cult has formed around blood rituals and the worship of chthonic beings. Members of the cult have been overheard chanting one name in particular, Chthon. With the world in disarray, the cult has grown strong. garnering new followers desperate for answers in a world that no longer makes sense. Chthonians and their loyal cult appear to be at odds with the Aetherials, eagerly harvesting helpless humans for blood, so that the Aetherials cannot use them as vessels. You'd think they'd be friends, but no. They're both arrayed against us. Both of them want humans for their own purposes. They're like, essentially, the world in which we're interacting with for the purposes of quests is, or I should say, the factions at large, such as, you know, the people in Devil's Crossing, are basically cattle to these enemy factions. You have people fighting over, you know, the right to use and abuse others as cattle. It's really strange. But if that doesn't give you a sense of just how dark the world is, that you have multiple enemy factions warring over what to do with you, I don't know what will. I don't know what will let you know that this is a dark place with, you know, we're kind of snatching light from the jaws of darkness. Really. That's probably the best way I know to describe it. So we picked up a strange key. You don't always get... If you do, we get access to the Depraved Sanctuary. Even though we aren't an ice-focused build, having the ability to just pop a whole bunch of Chthonians at once is very cathartic. To know that even your secondary tools are doing enough damage that they're worth taking. It's not just, oh, I only use this for spacing. No, you can actually perform some pretty insane setups with Ice Bomb. On some of my other files where I'm more cold focused, it does not take long for Ice Bomb to start outperforming a lot of other spells.
Can't do that.
Granted, this is still, you know, Dawn of Masteries we're talking about here, but you know that a spell is, you know that a particular ability is strong when even in the mod it is worth taking just as a spacing tool and occasionally for its power to nuke things. It also just freezes anything that is susceptible to it, which means the spacing tool is really strong because it forces enemies to a complete stop. And it helps that just about everything has a dot on it these days in Grim Dawn. Because dots are like the bread and butter. In other games, dots are like, you can't do damage fast enough, chump. What do you think you're doing? No, in Grim Dawn, like, dot and dot statuses are... They are the difference between an okay build and a great build. A great build loves to have dots of the same type stacking on it. Many times, something that boosts cold damage, for example, will also boost frostburn damage, which is a dot that does cold damage over 3 seconds. The dots aren't long. They aren't like World of Warcraft Affliction Warlock-style dots and curses where it's like, here, your enemy target is taking damage for 36 seconds. And your pandemic window in which to refresh the dot is about 6 to 8 seconds. No, the Frostburn is just a constant fixture of things you do in Grim Dawn, and it's very nice.
That skill's not ready.
Dots as a byproduct are way better than dots as an ability. Granted, I'm a huge dot, like, damage over time aficionado. I love... Aficionado. I love that stuff. But you gotta have a certain sense of self-flagellation in order to truly appreciate, like, damage over time effects enough to want to use them as your main damage source. Burst damage is always king. Period. It's always better to take the enemy out than to prolong their suffering. Mainly because you get to play more of the game when you do this.
That skill's not ready.
Just trying to keep an eyeball on this spider entity. I do not know where this comes from, by the way. I think I know about where half the mobs come from. Some of them are like a Diablo staple. Others are a, you know, they're from things like, Titan Quest, which I never got the opportunity to play growing up. I was always, I was more of a Nintendo kid. I only became, invested in, like, computer stuff around, I say around 14, when, my dad gifted me a copy of, vanilla World of Warcraft when it came out. It was on the end of its lifespan, too, before the, Burning Crusade expansion pack dropped. That should tell you a little about how old I am. I'm not old, but I'm not young either. I will level up in a hot second. I know, time to drink. Where's time to grind when you need him? Gotta be careful. Yeah, standing in a lot of bad in Grim Dawn is a good way to die. I mean, it's a good way to die in any game, but you know what I mean. Standing in bad is just a bad practice. And when your build that wants to sit there and spam, like, electrocute, moving around is not exactly the most conducive for your build, but you do what you gotta do to make things work. I forgot where I was gonna take my sentence. I'll think of it. And if I don't, then it wasn't important, right? Oh, announcements. Before I forget. So, our plan. I'm doing a double today. I'm behind on streams. I would like to catch back up and not fall behind again. I inevitably will, but you know what I mean. I don't want to be falling behind more than necessary. Or more than I have to. Okay, we'll go ahead and increase these. So, today, normally I'd be streaming on Twitch at about this time. In fact, I would be streaming there already, but again, you guys deserve... I care about you YouTube folks too. Promise. I want to make sure you get your content, and I haven't been able to do it for a solid month. I've been really, really trying to get this set up for Grim Dawn to work. It is a little bit tedious to do, but I love Grim Dawn of Masteries. I love being able to bring this to the table for you guys, and it's something else besides gritty Dark Souls or Soulsborne style games. That's kind of what I'm known for. I'm a variety streamer, so I do a lot of different kinds of games. I've played, but not beaten on camera, Tales of Berseria. I have played Xenoblade Chronicles, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Fallout 3. I do a lot of stuff. Like, there is a RPG sub-theme there, but I play a variety of stuff. But my main focus has usually been Soulsborne titles in the past. So being able to do something else that's not even close to an action RPG is, well, it's very relieving. You might be asking yourselves, why are we in the Depraved Sanctuary, right? A, there's an elite that we want to kill. B, I believe we get a, I believe we get some cool, sweet loot if we actually go through and do this. We might want to make sure we park rifts every so often as well. As with Grim Dawn, Dawn of Masteries, you stand a good chance of dying, and you don't want to make a run back. Also, depending on mob density, you can actually just cause your game to crash for a number of reasons. If you change the density at all, for any reason, even if it's just ×2, mob density, you better be prepared for occasional crashes. Never mind tinkering with the, strength or intensity or quantity of nemesis spawns. Right, I have to remember that you can't really click. Oh god, is this how it works? That's terrible. Why would you ever click that stuff? I guess if you have to, right? But other announcements. Because I was trying to explain the double, and I got sidetracked. After that, I'm probably going to take an hour, maybe 2 hours, so I can not have dinner interrupt the stream. Go have that, then come back and, you know, be streaming on Twitch with Elden Ring content. Because Elden Ring Reforged is a fun time for everyone. I'm afraid those commands aren't available on YouTube, but if you want to know what I'm talking about, if you type into your search engine, like Nexus Mods, Elden Ring Reforged, or just Elden Ring Reforged, you'll either get the changelog website or you'll get the Nexus Mods page, and you'll just click on one of those, and you'll know what to do from there. The game, or I should say the installation instructions are pretty simple and straightforward. It's really just a matter of, can you label the files correctly? If so, then you have exactly what you need. If not, you know, there's always the Discord server for Elden Ring Reforged. You can go there, and people will be happy to help walk you through it. But it really does just come down to using the intended method of installation, which is not a UXM manager, by the way. Don't use UXM. You're asking for trouble when you use that. Only use UXM if you are if the mod in question requires UXM, or you need to do merges of some kind, then maybe do that. But otherwise, stick to mod engine. That'll be way better. Okay, this door will close once we're in here, and 2 very hard-hitting mobs will show up. I'm gonna park a rift right here, and let's get to work. And unfortunately with these kinds of bosses, you end up, they'll sometimes have just instantaneous effects, like a lightning bolt or something along those lines, and there will be nothing you can do. You kind of just have to accept. You have to have a minimum amount of health, is another way of saying it. And if you don't have a minimum number of health, or a minimum amount of health, you're going to run into problems. Thank you for your contribution at the local blood bank. I'll be taking that blood of Chthon. Thank you very much. Blood of Chthon. Blood of Chthon. Here it is. Yep, it's the Blood of Chthon is one of the more common crafting materials you will need in order to grab the, you make a lot of, like, advanced components with it. And advanced components simply means components that are more powerful than what you can pick up in the field. Advanced components, or rare components you normally have to make, you cannot find them. Of course, you can find some, especially with this mod. You can get some of them on your own, but it is definitely a struggle. I recommend learning how to craft them and get used to doing that. The crafting system is pretty wild in this game. You can craft weapons and armor, but, like, the big thing you want to be doing is crafting relics. Crafting relics and crafting components to enhance your gear that you're already finding. Okay, that is not what we want to be doing. It does not... Teleport does not bother checking for terrain. Good to know. See, even with, like, restricting our loot, we are still getting, we're still getting a good chunk of gear. Which probably means our search parameters are still too wide to make any effective use out of the loot filter, but I do think it'll save us time in the long term. Which is probably what that suggestion was for, if I'm being completely honest with you. And this is one of those times where our build definitely suffers. For those who maybe aren't aware of what we're doing, it has been like over a couple of months since I've addressed it. We're going for a lightning damage build with a chain lightning / electrocute as the main form of dealing damage, with fire damage or fire abilities as sort of like our hard hitters. But it's definitely meant, the lightning half of our build is definitely meant to handle groups. Single targets, currently we're kind of weak. We're really soft to just huge elites. It's not that we can't deal with them, but we're going to be defaulting to Ice Bomb a lot, instead of only sometimes. Just double checking. If you see any fancy chests, open them. You'll usually find something worth your while in there. Usually there's a lot of loot coming out of these, but we have the filter turned on. So we're not gonna... it's not that the loot isn't there, it's that you just aren't seeing it and can't pick it up. That's all. If you wanted to default your loot filters after you've picked up everything useful, you're more than welcome to do that. There is no shame in... I just want to make sure I'm not missing chat. I'm paranoid about this on Twitch, so I'm not sure about YouTube. We'll kind of have to take that journey together, folks. We could teleport back, but we're still trying to get Angrim. Let's not forget that. We're still trying to, we have another objective we'd like to do, and because of the loot filter, normally a single run through, like, even just a small mini like this would get us a lot closer to, like, this backpack plus one full tab. Still wouldn't be enough to take it back, although I most certainly would return back to, Devil's Crossing to lighten the load. I'm going to try not to do that on camera. Because it wastes a lot of your time, and it wastes mine. I'm kind of... Here's the thing. I'm OCD about this stuff, and I shouldn't say OCD. I'm slightly compulsive when it comes to loot management. I like to filter and sort my bags. I know that's weird. It's the kind of thing that I've had friends over comms in the past literally yell at me about. Because I am bad about doing that. I'm bad about gathering. I'm bad about doing crafting stuff while I'm out in the field. I am not exactly the easiest questing partner in the world, because I often like to do all the tiny things on top of doing the huge things. So I have to pace myself and remember that I am unique compared to everyone else. At least when it comes to, you know, like, crafting professions or other tedious tasks. I may not have a problem with them, but just about everyone else that I know of does. Although I'm curious, is there anyone else who actually gets any kind of, relaxing or entertaining value out of doing the small micromanagement tasks? Such as, you know, filtering loot through your bags, selling stuff, things like that. Oh, I remember, as a kid, Oh yeah, I would run World of Warcraft old raids for hours. Taking stretch breaks, of course, but I would run them for hours. And just come back and constantly filter through and sell old loot. I would get like a couple K gold an hour doing it. It was great. Of course, that's not true. I started playing World of Warcraft again. Dragonflight and all that. It's a fun expansion. I haven't done any of the new content yet, but I'm trying to figure out which character I want to use, which class, which spec. And it kind of comes down to like an oldie but a goodie for me. And the other one is, you know, something I've played as an alt in the past, but it has a very high learning curve. And there's a lot that has to be done with it. There's a lot of micromanagement. Well, you know, I take that back. Just about everything in modern World of Warcraft has a high management uptime. There's a lot of stuff you have to keep an eye on. Most classes have a resource bar. Most classes have anywhere between 4 and like 7 different cooldowns. And this is just class. Forget items, forget legendaries, forget any of that stuff. All kinds of buffs and passive procs. It's a very intense game. I think I probably would have stopped playing at some earlier point if the intensity of it bothered me. Your mistake for running into the wall of ice there. Surely you could have seen that one coming. Is that a caster? Sure is. Their remains are kind of eviscerated, so it's hard to tell. So I'm usually paying attention to my feet in this game. Standing in bad is, again, a common way to just die in the game. You don't want to be standing in bad. So it's not that I'm not looking. I look when it is required, but usually I'm looking right at my character's position, making sure that bad hasn't stood there, or that bad isn't there to stand in. Oh. So, I'm getting kind of parched, actually. Anyone else here getting thirsty? I'm gonna go whip up a cold drink. I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna park somewhere where I know I have been, and hopefully I won't die. I would use a BRB screen, except I heard clickety clacking. I'm gonna make sure it's not a real person. Ah, yes. You know what? We found him. Let's do this first, and this is an excellent place to go park and get a drink. Hi there, Ingram.
Move along now, stranger.
Greetings, stranger. I hope you're out here fighting the good fight. What are you doing out here? Same as you, I suppose. Seeking my purpose in our fight to save Cairn. The Black Legion is out there still, and they could surely use a blacksmith. The Black Legion? The Black Legion? Death's bannermen? Surely you heard of the Imperium's elite. Or are you living under a rock before the Grim Dawn? Yeah, the Grim Dawn is the name of the event that took place that gave rise to the Aetherials. It's when the whole world went to hell. Basically. Yeah, the game's namesake is also the event that happens in the game. How original, right? Why are you looking for them? I heard solid rumors that some of the Legion escaped the chaos that broke out in the capital. I intend to seek them out and aid them in their fight against the invaders. I hear from the Malleum here. What do you know about that? Duncan needs it to help the refugees. You could take it by force and then you'd kill him, but that's not a good idea, and we're not that kind of guy. He is a talented boy, that one. The way he weaves magical properties into his craft astounds even me sometimes. I prefer a finely honed blade and a solid shield to that nonsense, though. Duncan was my finest apprentice, but he still needs to learn some priorities. Those people he's trying to help can't even help themselves. Our knowledge is a rare gift. We cannot squander it on those that refuse to fight for Cairn. Well, here's the thing, though. Have you ever heard of swords to plowshares? Or like, turning a pitchfork into a sword? Or scimitar? They really are two sides of the same coin. A sickle can be a dagger in the right hands. Anyone can become a soldier if given the appropriate care, nutrition, training, and mental rebuttressing. It's time the hammer was passed on. Besides, he's earned it. He's talented. He's not a nobody who's like, I don't know, giving them soup kitchen ladles to use. They are actually fine swords. It is true. Duncan brings a fresh approach to the forge with his arcane weapons, and he goes about his work with unrivaled energy. See? Admitting that your opposition is good is a good thing. It means that you can see the strengths of others. But he still lacks the experience to make weapons for real soldiers and masters of the blade. Well, maybe the people he's making weapons for will end up being fine mages instead, who will use their weapons as focuses of themselves, honing their own ethereal energies into it. Is that not a fine and worthy goal? I cannot have the power of the Malleum in here wasting away when we are at war. Don't worry. You know, he's kind of outfitting just about anybody by himself. I can focus his talents. You don't have to worry about that, Angrim. You'd put him to work, eh? You certainly do seem like the capable sort. Very well. Duncan will inherit the Malleum in here. Take it to him. Let him do his charity work, but then after that... Sure, yeah, thanks. He and I will do many great things. The tale of two blacksmiths, an ancient forging hammer, passed down through generations. It bore witness to the birth of countless artifacts, and will bear the creation of countless more. Yeah, we desperately needed this. Okay. So now that we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and whip up my drink. I will be right back. It'll take me maybe 5 minutes tops. I'll see you guys then. Sorry about that. I am back. So, we managed to get the Malleum in here to from out of Angrim's grip, and we are now going to take it and deliver it to a man whose services we will employ very well, very, very well, and then we will proceed to return to Devil's Crossing so I can show you how that whole feature works, because oh my god, will this open up so many doors for us. It's quite literally, this particular exchange here is the reason why we were holding on to so many epics before. You're back. Do you have the Malleum in here? They persuaded Angrim to part with it. Here you go. I'm impressed. Angrim is a tough man to convince of anything, but I'm glad it did not have to come to blows. Thank you. I will do much good with this. Will you join me then? Yes, of course. First, I must complete my work here. Now that I have my master's forging hammer, I will be able to provide these people with quality equipment. I will see you in Devil's Crossing when I'm finished, I'm promised. I promise. Excuse me. Now, the beauty of this is that we don't even need to put up a rift. We can, there's happens to be a rift nearby already. Oh, I'm sorry. We still need to hold on to those epics. We can't get rid of them, we can't get rid of them yet. But we can make more of them. Not a bad place you got here. Many souls in need of my services. Seems I'll be plenty busy. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So what brings you to my forge?
Yes, so Duncan here, or Angrim, either or will end up being here. These guys are your one-stop shop for anything that you find that is native to Grim Dawn. This is where you will go if you need to actually make something. Now, do we actually need to make anything with them? That is the real question. Well, the answer is yes and no. So, we can make things right now. And it is worth looking through them. We do have quite a few things compared to the average person that we would not have. Let's sift by important stuff. For us, Duncan, it will be useful for two reasons and two reasons only. One, he will be useful for making relics. And those relics will be very, very useful. The relics pretty much, they get us out of using this very, very, very crummy Wanderer's Crest. They empower our build just like any other piece of gear. But more importantly, they sometimes they grant a skill. Sometimes they grant a useful passive. Sometimes they do a whole bevy of things. Relics are very useful things. What we probably want, because we're a fire build as well, and this will just help us in the long term, is Fervor. Squall is the one I usually take, and Squall is very good. It grants you an item or a skill. It's pretty much available whenever. It's my bread and butter AoE when I'm dealing with normal builds. We're doing something different here at Swirling Vortex. So, Fervor it is. Fervor will help us with our general tendency for wanting to cast Electrocute, which is impacted by attack speed. We do want it. And just like no crafting time, no waiting for a long time, you've got it. Slam is now useless. By the way, you can't sell this thing either. I think you could sell it, but you don't get anything out of it. We could just clear this quick slot and use it for something else. Beautiful. Absolutely fantastic. Sorry, taking a drink here. So we have other things we could make. We don't need to make fervor. That's not what we're here for. We've already done it. What we are looking to do now is make various components. Components, well, you could, let's read one. Cracked lodestone. One we can make. Cracked lodestones. Sparks of energy jump across its surface. With any component, it will tell you where you can use it. Used in all weapons, shields, and caster offhands. So it doesn't matter if we're carrying a gun or not, basically. 1 to 5 lightning damage. Most of the time components won't have this, but some do. Those are really good ones. Plus 12% lightning damage, 10% physical converted to lightning. Excellent, excellent. Granted skill, Lightning Nova. 25 energy cost, 4.8 meter radius, 22 main hand damage, and 79 to 424 lightning damage. Lightning Nova is okay. If you're going for a close range melee build, this component's not bad. There are better ones, but in terms of what you can make, it's not bad. To start with. What we probably want is a nice little component called the Hellsbane ammo. I'm looking at all the others just to make sure there's nothing to worry about. I could see Radiant Gem here, but that requires a number of other components. And Radiant Gem is used in caster offhands, which you do have one. So it might be worth looking into in just a second. Hellsbane ammo. I love this thing. It's pretty much used in all of my electricity or lightning builds. Electrocute is just like Frostbite or Frostburn, but for lightning damage. 10% stun duration, 10% physical converted to lightning is fantastic. And this thing has a buff. It's not just a... Whenever I'm not using a sword, I love to have one of these. Granted, it probably ain't gonna last too long. And Hellsbane ammo can go on caster offhands. It would compete with Radiant Gem, but hey, who said that lightning damage would be an easy thing to apply just starting out? I pretty much, it'll reserve a portion of your energy. On top of the passive stuff, it'll grant you a weapon buff. It'll reserve a fraction of your energy, 150 points. You get passive lightning damage, you get percent lightning damage, you get percent electrocute, 12% chance of stun for about a second. And it provides similar bonuses to pets. I don't think we have any pets for this build, and nor are we going to. The crystals from Scintillist might count, and if that is the case, that would be an interesting interplay. But I don't think they would count, if I'm being quite honest with you. Only testing will let us figure out whether or not that is the case. You'd be surprised what counts as a real pet. I don't want to waste components on greens. I know that sounds stupid. You can make components that you get the materials for this really easily. Heck, you can make cracked lodestones, which will help you make the Hellsbane ammo. Like, you can craft these things as much as you want as long as you're willing to grind. And grinding is an easy thing to do in Dawn of Masteries. But I don't want to waste it on... I'm not even sure I'm going to have this gear. It does have lightning damage on it, but it's not tailored for what we want yet. It's just not. But I did want to show it off. It does have... We do have access to a lot of components. We can also make consumables. We can make skeleton keys. Let's talk about those for a minute. I know we're doing a lot of talking and not a lot of playing. I promise we will get there soon. So, Skeleton Key, there will be places later on, once you get past, I think this, it's either midway through the second region or on your way to the third, where you're introduced to places that are unlocked with Skeleton Keys. I think a good analog for the places that a Skeleton Key can unlock is kind of like, the Cow Dungeon in Diablo, or like entering the Greed's domain. You need items to do this, right? You may not need items now, but I know at one point you did. The Skeleton Keys unlock instanced areas that you can only enter one time. And then afterwards, you have to get a new key if you would like to try that particular instance again. Those instances, or ancient places, as I think the game refers to them, they reset. They lock behind you, so the key is consumed. You can't teleport out. You can't put any rifts in there. You're stuck, which means you can take only what you can carry. And once that is done, you need a new key, and you get a fresh dungeon. And Blood of Chthon is not an easy thing to come by. It looks like that because we got Chthonic things at the beginning of the game, but I promise you, you spend a lot more time with Aetherials. Blood of Chthon, hard to come by, to start with. Probably don't want to be... I didn't mean to pop open the console command, my bad. Yeah, Duncan here is useful, and we got what we wanted out of him. However, the real prize is not any of this stuff in here. We will have to sort through it eventually. So I'll go ahead and plug in the purple items so that they aren't burdening our space unnecessarily. And any components or potions as well. I know it's one of those foot in the door things, right? Oh no, streamer has opened the door to regular inventory management. God help us. No, I'm gonna stick to my word. Nothing more or less than getting rid of components, potions, and what the first thing we put in there, the purples, the purple items, like Quester rare crafting materials. All right. I want to so bad, but I'm not going to. We're just gonna sort the inventory and go about my business. And I don't like it when my potions have been placed to the bottom of, or they're removed from the nice, neat corner of the bag. I hate that. Alright. Inventory sorting over. Not doing any more of that on camera for a good long time. I just wanted to show off. Oh, I never did actually show off what I wanted to. I got so caught up in inventory management. It's a bad habit of mine. What we want to do is find... No, I don't need 50,000 iron bits. We want to find... Is it Zenith? I think it's Zenith. Got Elementalist, and you've got... I think it's Zenith. Let's see if I'm right. Do any of these boost the skills that I think? It's +2 to electrocute. Looks like it. Don't have enough physique to wear it, but yeah, this is the right one. I typically don't use these. The Zenith Merchant is bad. It only offers greens, and it doesn't offer anything else. I typically take Grim Dawn stuff over this, because of how bad it is. Trying to think, and the other one is NCFF, isn't it? I might be able to make use out of this one. We're gonna find out. We got Necromant. Might be... That's incorrect. Okay, yeah. Scintillist would be the one that we are converting. Really? Now, that's interesting. We have a relic that straight up converts fire to cold. Good to know. Good to know. We probably want Magma Storm, if I had to guess. And we might change a relic out at 35 as well. We're not there yet. Never mind. Because all of these are pretty much tied to... The Transcendent ones are 35, the Mythical ones are 60. Good to know. The way you get your set items and stuff through these vendors is through these blacksmiths, and you need epic tokens. We don't have the person yet that will actually help us obtain a whole bunch of these. But as soon as we get her, we'll be able to actually sit down and make sets. Right now we can make one piece of gear. So let's find something with lightning damage on it and go from there. Got Thunder Crash. That's two-handed melee. I either want a gun or something. It's Arcanist. Interesting, interesting. I have to find one that's actually at our level, and I don't think we're gonna get anything at our level at the moment. If we do, it's gonna be really rare. We're like a couple levels short of being able to do much of anything. Yeah, 28's like the bare minimum on this. At most, maybe accessories, and even then, yeah, you're kind of just stuck for the time being. Alright, let's get back to trying to secure Burwitch Portal, eh? So, what do people think about Grim Dawn, Dawn of Masteries so far? People like what they see? Don't like what they see? I've already had a commenter comment rather positively about it, and that's a good sign. However, I fear that my month of inactivity, for a number of reasons, some of them were due to personal health, others were due to bad time management, some was stuff beyond my control, that the traction on this has since died. You know, that whole YouTube metrics thing I'm not going to talk too much about, because it's bad juju. Nobody likes it when you talk about that stuff. I just worry that, you know, I'm going to be talking to myself for a while, but I'm worried there won't be any additional feedback. And I mean meaningful, constructive feedback, not LOL, streamer sucks. I usually ban that kind of talk on Twitch. I don't like non-constructive feedback. Get good is not constructive feedback. Get good is a joke response that you say when you're like, oh, well, I can't think of any tips to say, so all that's left to do is, you know, shut up and execute. Even then, that would be better than get good. Get good feels a little too lowbrow for me personally. I don't know. I know that the popular gamer subculture is definitely get good, or, you know, LOL, try harder. Like, the gamer culture is very, very lowbrow. Okay. We're going to proceed to wrap up Chain Lightning first, and then we get to do some experimentation. We get to decide, we get to look at crystals. Won't that be fun? Yeah, because I'm curious. I have not played with Sentinelist before. I think I might have mentioned that before. And of course, it's only episode 3, so I don't expect people to have a good running memory of things I say, but I believe I did mention before that I have not played through any Sentinelist abilities before. Not even on a lark. So I'm immensely looking forward to how the skills play with Elementalist, a mastery I definitely have played with before. Oh yeah, that momentary lag on the screen. My personal favorite. But that lag was from things dying, which I was more than happy to tolerate. And then the lag kind of stopped. There's like satisfying lag, and then or satisfying frame drops, and then there are very unsatisfying, panic-inducing frame drops. And I think that was the good kind for me. I don't know. Is that going to be a problem for people's viewing experience? As I've said before, and I'll be glad to say again, the game is not the most stable. Also, I've not been dealing with attribute points. I need to fix this. We have more than enough spirit. Pretty much we get spirit through gear. So we want to make sure our physique and our cunning are kind of up to par. Because if we can't hit anything, or, it's not that you can't hit something, it's that you'll be reduced to 60% hit chance. Which means that you're not doing a bunch of damage. Because that's a die roll on every single, attack you make. I want to do that in my tabletops. I don't want to do that in my ARPGs. Or in my hack and slash RPGs. I don't want to be doing that there. I'm curious. So, at max rank, it looks like it affects 7... Well, let's see. Baseline was 3, so I think it's hitting 10 targets. Okay, I was worried that it was going to map out at 3. But apparently the chain lightnings between Elementalist and, like, Sentinelist are almost identical. Which is a good thing. In my mind. In World of Warcraft, this is the type of spell I love to spam. Nice, consistent cleave. I am a multi-target master in that game. When it comes to elemental shamans, that is. And I would say that was probably the case at the time that Warlords of Draenor passed as an expansion. Now I would say, because of the Maelstrom resource system, I don't know. I feel like I would do good damage, but nothing mythic-worthy. And if I were to seriously consider a stint in World of Warcraft, and not just because I want to play it, I would definitely want to make sure I'm doing top-tier stuff. Or at the very least, heroic-tier raids. That's what I care about. Although I'm 30 now, man. I don't know. I don't know if I've got the mental acumen anymore. Not to mention, I'm a STEM major, and I kind of don't want to be doing too many things that take up my time, because World of Warcraft raiding takes up a lot of time. A lot of time. It's not just show up for raid and raid 4 hours. No, it's you gotta stand there in front of the test dummy to perfect your rotation. It's making sure that you grind for another 4 hours on top of that for flasks, materials, materials for your buffs, any potions that you need to buy, any food that you need to pick up that's specific to your build. You have to consider all that when you raid. You're spending like 4 to 5 hours a day, and 8 hours on raid day to make sure that you do everything you're supposed to. And if you're not willing to do that, or, find a... Oh god, that was bad. If you are unwilling or cannot make the time commitment. For raid and stick to LFR. And that's not a bad thing. That's realize where your strengths and weaknesses are. Realize what you can and can't do. Don't overextend in your own life. And that is a very hard thing to do. Because you want to do fun things. You want to be at top tier. Or even if you don't, and you're just looking for a good time, you want to be doing the best you can at the level of content you can do. The maximum you can do. Humans like a challenge. Maybe not every human, but a good chunk of humans who play MMOs, I find, are looking for a challenge. They want. Free rewards are nice, but well-earned rewards are better. Usually. From the number of people I've talked to in my raiding career, that's been the case. Now, I don't know what BFA or,
That skill's not ready.
just gonna have to eat the XP loss. And hopefully not die too many times. That's why I'm not parking a rift there. I'm loading and walking in there to give the game kind of time to reset some scripts. That's the thing. That's ultimately what, like, game corruption comes down to, right? Is to run custom behaviors, you need to code. You need to run script. And if there are too many scripts firing at once, or, the scripts aren't handled quite right, and they've run into, like, a runtime exception or something, then guess what? Your game's crashing. Period. So making things a little inconvenient for us in order to keep the game stable, I'm more than happy to do that. I think we've run into the most issues there, and that, by the way, that room is something that Teleport would not have fixed. He would have been running into an unknown. We would have had no idea what we're doing. Now this might be where Teleport would actually be beneficial. It only helps so much. It only helps so much. Don't worry. You can't lose a level from not claiming your, Oh, wow, things are dying due to dots. Good, good. You can't lose levels by not claiming your gravestone. You just can't. I've tried. I've actually legitimately tested it, unless Dawn of Masteries has changed it so that you do lose a level. You usually don't. I want to be careful. Sorry, it's not that I don't want to talk, it's that I'm having to think right now.
That skill's not ready.
And standing in a bunch of bad is a good way to die in here. But this is where having something deployable like Ice Bomb actually really does help. Because you could do damage while not standing in bad, right? Just like with raiding in World of Warcraft, when you're raiding in a game like that, you know, being able to do your damage while moving, because you're going to have tons of mechanics you have to move around for. You have players you got to go stand next to, and you have players you got to get away from. There's all kinds of positioning requirements. All kinds of stuff, really. Being able to do something on the move is better than just moving around. Of course, you don't want to have too much movement, because then you will just... Movement DPS is usually never very good. You could do a lot, you can get close to optimal DPS, but it's always better when you can stand and cast, or you can, you're a class that runs on a lot of damage over time effects, and you kind of get home advantage of being able to move. Affliction Warlocks are like this. You can do a lot of damage on the move. You can't do it all, but you get access to probably your most powerful ones. Oh god. You do get access to your most powerful stuff while on the move, with few exceptions. Powerful stuff? No, what am I trying to say? Bread and butter. You get access to your bread and butter without having to move around a whole bunch. Boy. Rough, but we're making our way through it slowly. It just took a couple of deaths to really get on top of everything. And unfortunately, Chain Lightning is going to get us into a lot of trouble. Or, I say Chain Lightning, it's a bad habit of mine. Electrocute. Electrocute will get us into a lot of trouble here. Because the thing about Chain Lightning, or... God, I got clapped really hard. Electrocute does not care whether something is in combat or not. If it's nearby, it chaining. It danger. It just do. Sorry. I do happen to catch some Nikachu MTG live sometimes, and I picked up on the lexicon of it danger. It Zybers. Is it Zybers? I think it's Zybers. And I think it crashed. Just gonna be patient. If we restart the game, that's gonna be awful. Yeah, it crashed. It's gonna happen. In this cave, I probably have to dial back to base mob density settings. Well, I don't want to waste your time. I'm just gonna, close the program. We'll have to walk our way to that cave again, but it won't be too hard. Sometimes, as I've said before, Grim Dawn, modded Grim Dawn is not... It can be unstable. It can be very unstable. Don't be afraid to parse the settings back down until you're done doing what it is you need to do. It never used to do this, and I say this as someone who now pretty much routinely runs at the highest grimmest settings, and now it just seems to crash a lot. I don't know if it's a memory problem. If it is, the graphics are too high, and so it crashes. If it's a script error, and I've died too many times, it could be like that sometimes. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but I should probably just... Let's go ahead and do inventory management. I know I've said I wouldn't be doing that on camera, but I kind of have to do... I have to take care of a bunch of stuff anyway. I might as well just get it done in one sitting. because we're gonna have to reset the Grimace settings to base density so that it doesn't crash. It's pretty much crashed once or twice every stream now. It's bad. It's very bad.
Hey, do we have any of that Chthonic Nyborg left?
Yep, and reset the mob density.
Man.
Got something you need stashed?
Alright. Let's go ahead and store these. Just gonna store them. We're not going to fiddle around with sorting, no matter how badly I want to. Trust me, this will all be coming out of the bank anyway once we're done. Yeah, just making sure I haven't put any greens in there by mistake. Okay. We could sell the rest. Because we'll be replacing this with blues.
Come see what's left.
Yeah, that later is ready to break down our stuff, if you will, in exchange for some dynamite and you know, the item you wish to break down and some bits.
Put it to good use.
And that's that is more or less how we're gonna get our epic tokens. Okay, that should be enough for... If Grim Dawn can't even handle regular, normal mob density, we're gonna have problems. And I'll probably keep it on regular density the rest of the playthrough. Because it's quite clear that even a untuned version, or a tame version of the Grimace settings, is not going to be stable. It's just not. It's stable some of the time until something kills us, and then it is an unstable mess. And mob density can get pretty wild in regular Grim Dawn anyway. I was mostly just trying to like speed up production of epic tokens and other things we care about. Well, okay, rest of the playthrough may be harsh. It might be one of those, I'll test it. We'll test it, and then if we need to shift it back to base, then we'll do that. Because if I'm just showing you regular Grim Dawn mob density, there's very little point to playing it modded outside of Masteries. At least we don't have to redo our loot filters. That would, of course, suck. I think I would have actually been mad enough to switch games if that actually happened. I would have apologized to the YouTube folks. And I would have taken my break and then, you know, I would have taken my 2 hours. Kind of cool off, cool my jets. And then play some Elden Ring Reforged. Okay, nothing here. Alright, Shrine, show us what you've got. Beautiful. Our build is too good, too powerful, which is why I usually like to have the Grimace settings turned on. Everything but the order stuff. That's an easy that's an easy thing to remember. Alright, where does this take us? Think it should be further up north somewhere? Or it could be the other side in the actual outskirts. I hope to make it to Burwitch today. Not only do I hope to make it to Burwitch, I hope that in the process of making it to Burwitch, we get the ability to dismantle gear today. Because once I get the ability to dismantle gear, I can actually grind off camera if I want to, like, assemble a set for you guys. Or if we want to change builds, I can do that. Right now, we're kind of waiting for the... What we can do is dictated by the pace of the game. And if we don't have all the game features to do this with, we're at its mercy for what we can and can't do. And I don't like that. And I don't grind until the pace is sort of open. Or, you know, the pace is a lot slower. Like in Elden Ring, where you can grind pretty much at any time that you want. You just have to take the time to do it. Speaking of grinding, during my 2-hour break, I will probably try to make sure I've got some actual earthly flowers and some stones and some fireflies for a change. This is not going where Burwitch is. I think this is going toward the optional area. Now you see what I mean when we're kind of over-leveled for the stuff. Everything's like level 19. And we're like 27. Which would be fine if we were doing Grimace stuff, but we aren't anymore. At least as far as mob density stuff is concerned. Again, in the open field, it's infinitely more stable. In caves where you repeatedly have the opportunity to just get blasted and die, that's where the greatest opportunity for crashes presents itself. You kind of have to be willing to find the correct cave entrance, so to speak. Because we kind of came into, I wouldn't say the back end of that cave. There weren't any good cave entrances in that scenario. We were always going to be surrounded by mobs, and we were likely going to die. That's just a simple, subtle truth. No, not even a subtle, overt truth. Yeah, simple, plain truth. Frick. I forgot where I was gonna go with that. Okay, this is it here. A Burwitch Bridge repair site. Over here, once I get into the local map, see how there's like the Burwitch Graveyard, Mud Row. I don't know if we're a pretty good, decent ways away from the Rift Gate, because Rift Gate's here. This is where we met Duncan. This would probably put us right on Hallowed Hill, East March territory, if I'm remembering correctly. Yep, this what's connected Burwitch to East March. Trash has accumulated at its support beams, making repairs impossible. The debris could be cleared with some heavy explosives. The old abandoned mines around Old Arkovia are likely the best place to find those. 1 dynamite to clear the bridge, or you can play Dawn of Masteries. And you don't need to worry about that. You can buy your dynamite. As long as you're at least... wrong button. As long as you're at least friendly with Devil's Crossing, you get your dynamite. Period. But yes, in base game, you would have to go to Old Arkovia. You would have to go farm dynamite. You would not get the ability to make it until at least after Act 3. And by then, it probably wouldn't... Act 3, Act 4 was about where I stopped. Would have been right at the end of Act 3 if I'm thinking correctly. Or remembering correctly. So I don't know if I ever got the ability to make dynamite. If I do, I don't remember. But I do definitely remember it not being easy. You ran out of bits trying to do it, as a matter of fact. Hi there, who are you?
Well, I'll be a living person.
I've been stranded out here since Burwitch fell. fortified myself on this little pet spider. Cooking whatever critters get too close while waiting for the inevitable end. You're a welcome sight for sore eyes. Well, thank you. Are we gonna cook that spider? Are we gonna eat spider? Slurp, slurp, slurp. Love me some spider legs. I'm joking, by the way. Burwitch fell months ago. How have you survived this long? Well, I can cook, for one. I used to work in the capital and had the honor of preparing meals for a couple of noble houses and many foreign dignitaries. I'm not a fighter, but I've learned to hunt a bit when necessary. It gets me by. Scraps of bone rat aren't exactly fine dining, though. Most of all, I just keep quiet and observe. What about you? Where do you hail from? Well, I don't know. Your story doesn't add up, friend. Something tells me that you look like you've seen more than you're letting on. What about that scar on your right eye? Want to tell me about that? No, didn't think so. Well, alright, old Grim. You seem like you're a nice enough guy. We'll tell you about the prison. This prison of yours sounds like heaven compared to my current dwelling. I bet I could do my share as well. Men fight better on full stomachs. How will we get all my equipment to Devil's Crossing? Let me show you. A portal? I've only ever seen one of those before, and it wasn't spitting out the good guys. I really hope you're not trying to pull one on me. Here goes nothing. Okay. Well, we might as well address the elephant in the room, right? He says he's a good cook, right? Let's have him prove that. Should be easy enough for you to do, good sir. Well, if it isn't my savior. I cannot thank you enough. I finally get to cook for other people again. Here, have some soup. Could use some salt, but Captain Whiskey over there insists it's for combat use only. What, for like saltpeter? Silver nitrate? You're gonna use it to make bombs? What kind of combat use do you need it for? I've heard of de-icing, like, bridges, but even then, that's not something you do in a high fantasy setting. Now you could cook the ice off with fire magic. Come back anytime. I got a few old stories to tell if you got an ear to listen. More soup. Here you go, nice and hot. Eat up now. You don't want to offend me, do you? Let's hear a story then, good sir. Edwin, take notes, please. Prior to the grim dawn, I served a meal to some gentlemen in the capital who were deep in conversation about a remarkable new method of travel using arcane gateways. They said it would allow the Emperor's armies stationed in the capital to appear almost instantly in the furthest provinces. Imagine to what lengths the Emperor's general staff would go to procure such a decisive military advantage. You know, hearing myself say it, it sounds very similar to that portal you used to rescue me from the swamp. What about another one? I served a follower of Dreeg once. Now, I normally don't judge a man based on his beliefs, but those people believe in some twisted stuff. The all-seeing eye, the hidden realm the witch gods supposedly reside in, how Dreeg is the watcher that guards the way. No wonder they're so uptight that they think someone is staring at them all the time. It's funny, though. Apparently someone was watching him after all. Not long after we parted ways, an Inquisitor took him in for questioning, and he was never seen again. At least that's what I heard. Where'd you find this guy? He'd make a soup out of stone if you asked him to, and I reckon it would still taste damn fine. Rock soup, eh? Is it better than what you've been serving? We got a joker in the midst now, eh? I'm ribbing you a hard one, Edwin. You know, if you're not a cook and you have to cook something, you learn very quickly to serve slop, or you serve nothing at all. I understand that.
Looking for a new
I know how to cook. But I know how to cook only a few, well, not a few things, but like my knowledge of it is very, very basic. I couldn't put together hors d'oeuvres, for example, and if I did, it certainly wouldn't look good. No, it looked basic. I do want to be able to cook a fine meal for family, but when I'm a STEM major and I'm trying to, like, I don't know, manage stuff in test tubes and write papers all day, you don't want to cook. You don't want to cook. And if you do, it better be because instructions are written for you. We'll see. Ugh, excuse me. Excuse me again. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, so this is Hallowed Hill in East March. So we were basically almost there. All I have to do now is, you know, carve another path to Burwitch, right? Thankfully, our gear will pretty much let us handle most trash pretty effectively. It'll be anything else that could be a problem. Don't worry, we will have access to better spells soon, and maybe we can crank up the Grimmest again. Maybe. Depends on how stable it wants to be. One nice thing about cranking the settings down is that the levels are adjusted, so if you turn Grimmest off, it's a lot closer to what, like, base Grim Dawn might look like. Which, for those who are like, I just want the new Masteries, I don't care about anything else, you know, that's fine. Don't be ashamed, it's a mod. You can mix and match to your heart's content. And that's the beauty of it, is that you can turn it on, or you can shut it off. You don't have to use things you don't want to use. You can play it the way you want to play it. And I find that is true with a lot of games that you can mod. You can either use the mod features, or you can ignore them. You're free to do that. It's like with Elden Ring Reforged. You know, in Elden Ring Reforged, there's a Godskin Noble in Liurnia, right? Most people probably are aware of the one I'm talking about. It's usually your first experience with a Godskin Noble. It's on the bridge to the Divine Tower of Liurnia, and it's a fine enough location on the bridge. You can deal with it pretty effectively. What Kurnifer did was instead said, okay, I don't think that's very cool. I'm gonna place it in the tower. You could fight it on the elevator, which is cool. It's very thematic. It's very tense. I have not fought it yet. I'm looking forward to that. But a lot of people were annoyed with Godskin Noble. And I suppose that's something I think Kurnifer will eventually have to address when it comes to Elden Ring Reforged, is the way that Elden Ring Reforged is intended to be is an extension of Elden Ring's logic and its design principles. It's not trying to step outside of the bounds of what the game could do, or what the game would offer. So everything should look relatively natural, right? Like, it's something that Miyazaki would maybe think of, oh, that's cool, let's throw it in there and see what happens. That's a lot of game design from what I understand, at least the initial alpha versions of game design anyway. But there comes a point in a mod's lifetime where you need to start to ask, is the base game design good? Was it good? If you're going to change controversial elements of Elden Ring's or like a FromSoft game's design, because a lot of people complained about the Godskin Noble on the bridge before any changes were made. People complained about Godskin Noble, period. Bad fight. A lot of people didn't like how snappy and instant some of the things it could do were. And that's on a big space where you can't really get knocked off the bridge. In the elevator, however, that takes on a very different meaning. The slightest pushback can mean that you have fallen to your death, and you will have to unfold the elevator and try again. That fight has been nerfed almost to the ground. And thinking about how I might feel if I were to fight it. Because that is a fight. Godskin Noble is a fight that is meant to emphasize deflections. The Godskin Noble uses a rapier, right? Or like a piercing sword? A thrusting sword? Yeah, you're meant to combat that, the many hits that it's capable of through like deflects or proper spacing. You don't have that spacing option anymore when you're on when you're in a tight, narrow space, like an elevator platform. So it's deflect, be very precise in your rolls, or die. Overall, I think Godskin Noble is one of those fights that's right on the border of bad game design. Elden Ring really pushed, and not necessarily in good ways, the formula for Dark Souls or Soulsborne type bosses. Sekiro did what it was able to do well because the entire game was balanced around its pacing. With normal Soulsborne titles, there's a certain amount of arbitrary, like just it naturally sucks or is bad in game design, and it should never have been made to begin with. Godskin Noble is right on the border, where like if you just tweak a few things, maybe remove the ability for it to cast Noble's presence, it would probably be a pretty fair, if underwhelming, fight. No one would complain, but no one would be happy either. Whereas with everything that it currently has, at its disposal, it's like it's just annoying enough that it presents a challenge, but not in the good way. No one wants to fight Godskin Noble. That's kind of what I mean, is that eventually Kernifer is going to have to address questionable parts of the game's design, and granted, they've already done a good chunk of that with deflects and stuff, like making animations faster, stuff like that. That goes a long way toward addressing many of the game's problems. However, that's on the, well, it's a nice quality of life change. There's no reason why that change would be rejected ever. Nice. There's no reason why a change like that would be rejected. Animation speed-ups are good. Just all the way across the board. FromSoft has a bad habit of making slow animations in Soulsborne games, because the clunk, the arbitrary difficulty is the point. And it's naturally bad game design that can only be compensated for so much by good storytelling. No matter how compelling Elden Ring's story is, what people are starting to discover is that clunk is kind of just an unacceptable thing in this era. Arbitrary difficulty is bad. It is absolutely bad, and you should never, ever design for it. FromSoft is slowly having to learn this the hard way. With an ARPG. With a linear title like Dark Souls, it was more manageable. It's still never good. You should still never manage to design your games around clunk or slowness. No one likes that stuff. You can compensate for a lot of clunky, slow game design decisions if you pace it well. That is not what happened with Elden Ring. Elden Ring very much wanted to go fast, like Sekiro Bloodborne levels of fast, but it also wanted to be clunky like Dark Souls. Can't have both. Gotta pick one. And a mod that wants to keep the integrity of Miyazaki's game design decisions in check when some of them are just outright bad, of course you're going to run into the same problems as the game designers themselves. Some design elements of the base game are bad, and it is okay not to include them in your mod. People would be perfectly happy if Godskin Noble did not exist. It does. And because it does, some amount of consideration should be given toward it. But I think putting it on the elevator was a perfectly good example of bad game design. Yes, it's cool. It's a cool concept, and I love elevator fight. I don't mind fights in tight spaces. But I think Godskin Noble in particular is probably not a good candidate for this. That could have been another boss with no knockback. Or the only way you're falling off that elevator shaft is if you roll off. That's fine. Of course, there are some people that are always just going to clamor for a safety net on vertical pit fights. There's nothing to do about that. Those people, not to say that they shouldn't be taken seriously, but at the end of the day, you can roll off cliffs in base Elden Ring. You can roll off of the fight with Margit. And people rightfully complain about that then. So if it's good enough, if the mod gains infamy because it put a Godskin Noble on an elevator tower, then people should really clamor for Margit to have some kind of safety net as well. Be consistent in mod design, which is something that's going to be a problem so long as the mod is a community design rather than, Kurnifer says it so it goes. Period. End of subject. Ultimately, Kurnifer does, but I'm grateful for the community aspect of Elden Ring Reforged. I just think it chafes because we have a number of different perspectives, and I think people forget in passionately arguing for one side or another that it's like, oh, yes, we know that the mod author has the final say. Why are you saying that? It's clearly meant to just silence discussion. No, I think it bears repeating, because people are acting as though that's not relevant, and it is. People get way too incensed over property that does not belong to them, over recommendations and offers that they basically take for granted. I think people take Elden Ring Reforged for granted sometimes. And it shows with the way that some people passively-aggressively speak in the forums. Nobody wants to speak that way. I've done the digging myself. I'm pretty much on good terms with most people in that Discord. People are just passionate. And sometimes that means wires get crossed, but I truly do think people just forget that. And people also don't like missing words either. They don't like being picky or choosy with what they have to say. They just want to say it, and then if they need to explain themselves, they will. And unfortunately for those people, sometimes when you're wanting to explain yourself, you're just going to end up stumbling over your words again. And it's just better if you get the explanation out there right the first time. Taking an extra minute to put the disclaimers out there, like, oh, well, I'm aware of X and Y before you speak, will really, really help blunt the severity of your statements. Normal conversation is not what you would prepare for in an English course. It's not. It's just not. No matter what the academy instructors or, your professors have to say, it's just not. People don't like strong, pointed, direct words when wires get crossed. People naturally look for a way to dial the temperature down. At least those that aren't actively arguing for or against something, people naturally seek a way to ratchet the pressure down, while still being able to argue their point at the exact same time. And unfortunately, some wires just get crossed. There's a lot of the boomeranging effect going back and forth. What am I doing? Okay, let me break up my... This was supposed to be a Let's Play, not an Elden Ring Reforged rant. I do apologize for that. So we're in Burwitch. Burwitch Village is where we're supposed to find Kasparov's apprentice. In case people have forgotten, that's why we're here. And I don't know how easy or hard it is to see these inputs. I get a shrunken version of what you guys see because of the way I have my docs, my OBS docs oriented. So I don't know if you can or can't read something. Granted, I do try to go back and look at the VODs, but usually I'm looking for like audio or visual defects. I'm not looking for readability, though maybe I should. I admit that I could be better at scrutinizing my own videos, and I do want to get better about that. But yeah, welcome to Burwitch Village. We need to go looking through some cellars to try to find this apprentice. We will find them eventually. It's just a matter of when. Game's been pretty quiet, not a whole bunch going on. And that's kind of what Grim Dawn is. Like, once you get past... Especially with how weak everything is. And with our electrocute slash chain lightning build being what it is, really. Nice rotting corpse and a powdered circle. I presume this is a circle made of alchemical silver or salt. To keep demons and undead out. This is most likely what that is. I've heard of that before. We refer to that as magical theory. Something I'm, somewhat well-versed in. Somewhat. And typically, with powdered circles like that, it's very important you don't break the line of effect. If you trace a line through that circle willy-nilly, then the magic has no effect. It will have problems. It will be problematic. I think I've said the same thing like 3 times. Just trying to make sure. I don't know if they're in this one. But they are definitely in one of these Oh, I'm sorry. It's not here. It's in the Burwitch Estates. I'm dumb. Sorry, we got a little more to go through before we get to the Burwitch Estates, but we will, and then we will find them. My bad. How's everyone doing? Everyone having a good time? I want to take this moment to thank people for, watching or lurking in the background. I really do appreciate that. Lurkers are like the backbone of these streaming platforms. None of our channels would exist without you guys. I'm serious about that. So, thanks. I'm also appreciative of just anyone who comments on the video or the VOD that will be live afterwards. I'm appreciative of any effort taken to support the streamer, even just for being here. I really do appreciate that. If you guys like the content that you've seen already and you'd like to see more of it, I like Dawn of Masteries, so I probably end up doing it anyway, but just in case, leave a follow, hit that notification bell so you don't miss seeing future episodes of this. So I'll try to be more consistent in the future. It's just if I'm not feeling well or something happens that's outside of my sphere of control, I'm sorry. but I probably can't do anything about that. And as for my time management, all I can do, truly, is to say I'm sorry about that, too. And, not just promise, but do better. That's all I can do. Anything else is just needless self-flagellation. I'm trying to get better about not doing that. Is this another old dump? I don't think... She's definitely not here. Yeah, look at how far-reaching the electrocute is. Absolutely impressive. Gets us in trouble, though. So much. And it's utterly useless by itself. Yes, we are here on round 2 with Grundlepith, the Hoarder. We have fought that particular enemy before as well. And we encountered the old dump in episode 1. We fought a copy of them then. The only difference is that the poison barely did any damage to us, whereas now it does a whole lot more. Those hazards deal percentage-based damage, so the higher in level you get, the more, and the higher your health goes, the more frustrating it is. Okay, let's handle the attribute point first. And then let's take care of the Scintillist. I don't want my teleport to be super high in energy. So let's try to figure out what we could summon here. So we've got a Storm Crystal and a Lightning Crystal. We probably should only take one of these. And then after that, try to get some kind of fire damage going in here. Lightning Crystal... You could and I believe both of these have a 3 summon limit. Yeah, they sure do. Storm Totem attributes. Well, it's a lightning crystal, but Storm Totem is what it's based on. Yeah, and then it states it properly here. I believe this is a carbon copy of the Storm Totem. And that is a Shaman Mastery, if I'm remembering correctly. And what do you know? Storm Totem quite literally does Storm Strike. The only difference is it'll stun targets. Yeah, your pets or totems will target things as well. And because this is kind of... The only thing that separates Electrocute from Lightning Crystal is the fact that there's a stun attached. And I guess it's not even a real... Our Electrocute has a 25% chance of stunning for 2 seconds. This is like a guaranteed stun for 1 second, with diminishing returns. I think this is... Stun resistances around the crystal. Okay. So, with this particular crystal, Lightning Crystal, you want to place it on a boss, or another high health target. Then for Storm Crystal... I will be right back. Sorry about that. I am back. Sometimes nature don't wait to give you a call. Nature just does. And that is as much as I'm gonna say at the moment. Storm Crystal. It will cast Lightning Hex every second for 14 seconds. 6-second duration, 3-meter radius. Small amounts of lightning and electrocute damage plus minus 5% defensive ability on those that have a lightning hex cast on them. And later on, the targets become tethered. Tethered to the crystal through an electrified connection that rapidly shocks the target, and no enemies unfortunate enough to pass through it. The power within the tether is limited, however, and will snap should the distance between you and the target become too great. Up to 3 enemies can remain tethered at any given point in time. So I think the correct call here, because soft and hard crowd control is everything in a game like this, we want Storm Crystal. Oh, well, I guess we can't be undoing that. Good to know. Let's go ahead and put our Storm Crystal here, and let's try it out. Okay, so you basically place these. You need to place them during a fight, but you also don't want to place them when you don't think you'll need them. So probably you'd place a Storm Crystal followed by an Ice Bomb, followed by another Storm Crystal, and then begin rotation, teleporting as necessary. Yeah, my apologies for how long that disaster, that is as much as I will talk about, took. Again, nature sometimes, most of the time, nature calls, and you're supposed to answer it. Bad things happen if you don't. Sometimes, nature don't wait for a call. Nature just does. And woe betide the unfortunate human being that has to deal with that. Oh, takes a lot out of you. Anyway, so we need to go through the abandoned waterfront before we think about doing anything else. Luckily for us, we really don't need to use our new abilities until way later. Well, not way later, but like during an important boss or something, we want to make sure we have a Storm Crystal ready to go every 3 seconds. 4 seconds right now, 3 seconds probably later on, or maybe even faster than that. We'll have to see. Cooldown reduction can do some scary things for a build. We should still experiment with it, even in situations where we don't need it. Yeah, look at that. It will just cast stuff for you. Nice Harbor Master's log. Another boat arrived filled with hooded prisoners, dozens of them. Oh, that is gonna be a block and a ban, probably. I want to report for wanted commercial content or spam. I'm going to remove the rest of those. Swear every time. It's the second stream that has happened. Where are these bots coming from out of the woodwork? This is YouTube. This ain't Twitch. You can have... I mean, you can't do anything that'll violate terms of service, of course. The conversations can get downright lewd in Twitch. YouTube, there's some additional decorum that one has to follow while you're in there. I can't just talk willy-nilly about even the lewdest things, even the slightly lewdest of things. Yeah, see, this is a situation where when we're not in, like, Grimmest, there's no reason to cast Storm Crystal. Probably on a boss, and even then, I fear we're so over-leveled for it that I wonder if we even need it for that. Don't worry, our single target sucks without it, so I imagine we probably will. Probably. Nice thing about these games is that you can typically undo a talent choice. You can undo a mastery choice, and you can just go from there. Now, where's Chthonic Mastery page 1? Blood, my brothers. Blood is the essence, for it gives us life. Gives us life. Drink not of the blood of demons, for it is corruption manifest. Those that partake of blood shall forever be damned. Abhor the gifts of the Chthonians, lest its touch contaminate your soul. Purity of blood heralds the purity of the soul. Well, we're in the Burwitch Estate, so we should find these pages and our apprentice eventually. Eventually. Beautiful. These were absolutely roasted. Sizzled alive by my lightning. Sorry, I'm getting a little too much into the RP now. Gut delirium will do that to you. What the hell is this? Musty Cellar? Is this like Dreeg or something? Huh. I never noticed this. That's interesting. I'm learning new things all the time, apparently. Yeah, I suppose one upside is that if you do sort of overpower the content, then something like Electrocute would actually work well. You could take out a lot of problem enemies before you even see them. You're like, what did I kill? Well, you know, you used Electrocute. It was super effective. Yes, you're gonna run into problems where you kill enemies you don't recognize. I believe this means, yeah, sometimes it could be worth it to pan your camera. We need to go back and grab that. We probably don't, but there could be lore. You never want to underestimate the ability for lore to be present. That is extra XP. Even if you don't care about the story so much, the story's kind... Okay, so I like Grim Dawn's story. I love post-apocalyptic tales that aren't the same old, oh, we irradiated each other. Congratulations. You know, figure it out. No, this one's like, hey, something else meddled with us. We gotta figure out how to survive. How to band together as human beings. We don't have time for interpersonal squabbles. That'll get us killed. And in the case of the Ethereals, it'll lead to outright, like, disintegration from within, as that person likely undergoes ethereal possession and corruption. And the Ethereals take those secrets that they've learned from the person they're possessing and use them to their own benefit. The Ethereals are insidious like that. They're like, cockroaches. You don't notice the big ones until you don't notice the little ones until the big ones are on your doorstep. And you realize, oh, they're all the little ones that I didn't think too much of. So if you couldn't tell, Burwitch Village is where normal people lived, and Burwitch Estates is where the warden lived, and the people that he was operating with. He housed those. So this is the prison right here, or this is the warden's personal estate. We're not ready for that yet. Luckily, if you're never sure where something is, the game will mark it for you on the mini-map. Never be afraid to look there. Open up your real map too, it'll point stuff out for you. And you never have to worry about the game lying to you or hiding, you know, a potential quest destination. That's not the Grim Dawn experience. It is definitely similar to Diablo in that vein, where, you know, it cares more about the story it's delivering than about handing the player cryptic puzzles that they won't ever have the patience to solve. That sort of thing. I like Grim Dawn for... that happens to be one of the many reasons I like it. I also like the... I know, I'm gonna sound like a frickin' gun nut, but I do like guns in fantasy RPGs. I think there's plenty of places for them to actually be non-immersion breaking, like in Grim Dawn, where guns are an everyday part of life. Hunting, law enforcement, you name it. You can, or, you know, just as a means of defending yourself. Like, I prefer working with my gun compared to a blade. I don't have to think twice about whether it kills something or not. Okay, totem. A whole bunch of noise and very little else. Yeah, I definitely miss Grimmest already. Well, hi there, Harvey. You look rough, man. And what's with the baby? What's with the stuffed, doll? God, what happened to you? You broke my door. Oh no, rotten walkers are gonna hear you. They're gonna find little Walter and me. Wait, are you rotten? No, 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 no. You couldn't find us if you were. Yes, I knew they were coming. They were my family, but they all called me crazy. I wanted to save them, but I just couldn't stay here. Don't you see? I had no choice. I had to hide. After the rotted ones killed everyone in town, everyone but little Walter, I came back. It's clever, don't you see? They're in the swamp now, but they would never think to look in the town again. Are you so sure about that? Oh, what can you tell me about the area? What? Harvey doesn't leave home much, except when the rotting ones come. And then Harvey hides in the passage under the bridge. Leads to the old hallowed hill, but many dead there. Huh, hidden passage. Thank you. Were you talking to that doll before I came in? What doll? Are you crazy? That's my son. Stop talking about him like that. Look at him, he's alive. No, better, he's perfect. Such smooth, perfect skin. Not like those rotted ones outside. You have to face reality, man. You're living alone here with this doll. I'm sorry for your son, but you need to move on. Why are you saying that? You're trying to poison my mind. You're one of those rotted ones, aren't you? You look okay, but you're rotted on the inside. Yes, I can smell it now. No, of course Walter isn't a doll. Back away slowly. You won't have to worry about the rotted ones anymore. I'm here to purge them. What? No, no, if you kill, they come back. They search for the living and then they find Harvey and little Walter. We're safe here. They'll never look. They'll ruin everything. I can take you to Devil's Crossing. No, no, I cannot go. Nowhere is safe but here. This is where we have to stay. Yes, yes. Insist you come with me for your own good. Can't let you ruin this. I won't let you take Walter away again. Unfortunate. You could have just... Honestly, I think the best thing to do would have just to have been to leave him alone, but come on. He was zombie food either way. By the way, there's no good ending for dear old Harvey. I imagine he watched his son Walter die, and that caused him to snap. Like, he broke mentally, and I can't say I would blame him, but when he turns vicious and attacks people like that, you have no choice but to defend yourself. But we did figure out a useful clue, and that is, go to Hallowed Hill. That is... Hallowed Hill is... back over here, past the Burwich Estates. Probably across the other side of the bridge. If anything at all. We have another shrine here. Yeah, you pretty much... They've put the shrines in such a place that it's hard. It would be hard to, I could have swore I'm hearing alerts and I'm just not seeing them. I hate that. I'm paranoid about that type of thing. Yeah, they try to put the shrines where it's not too far out of your way. There are a couple that are hidden, but you can get a lot of points just by playing the game normally. And the reward is usually not the enemies that are there. It's usually the devotion point itself. Alright, now we need to find fire damage. Is Aether and fire. Is fire and chaos. Yeah, usually fire damage pairs a lot better with chaos or Aether or vitality. Those are common ways you could see it. You're not going to see it paired with most other things, and if you do, it's because you've bent a spell or ability to be that way. Not looking for tsunami. I'd like to avoid that this time. Sorry, I had this all figured out before, but sometimes you lose sight of these things. Also, it's been a month. Please forgive me for not being as put together as I normally am. Sounds like we should start with Reckless Tempest before thinking about Hand of Ultis. We kind of have to go that way anyway. So sometimes you might need to think about the fact that, when you're looking for these constellation bonuses and you want, like, these active abilities and stuff, you might have to get some ones that are just not normally, it's not efficient for you if you try to avoid, you know, unrelated damage types. What we could do... And I need to know relative directions of things. We could pick up Tsunami. I am fairly familiar with the skill. Or we could attempt to get, a constellation in the, Ascendant line and go from there. Bleeding and physical. Where are... Yep, we need to figure out where the fire damage is again. If only you could zoom out entirely on this thing. You kind of can't. You're kind of stuck, if you will. You can, like... We're as zoomed out as we can be, by the way. What about cold damage? Yeah, there's some that we could go toward down here, but... We're probably gonna have to take some constellations we maybe weren't thinking about. Which may or may not be a good thing. Because we definitely need 5, Ascendant, we need 5 Ascendant, constellation points in order to get this. We can either get it now, or we could get it later. Out of the ones that are here, we have some pure ones we could use. I like Harpy. Harpy gives us access to some cold damage, which will help her ice bomb a little bit. And we could get some cunning and energy regen on top of that. We get a bunch of small increases to various stats. You don't get anything big, but we do get worthwhile upgrades by taking it. Alright, let's go find this apprentice. I love attacking things halfway across the screen. I love electrocute. Thankfully, our apprentice isn't too hard to find. She's right here. And as soon as we do find her, of course there are demons that come, or aether corruptions that come after us. They're still coming. Alright then. Now that we have a moment to ourselves, hi Darlet. I'm glad I could find you. Hey look, powdered circles. I can't believe someone found me out here. I came down into the cellar looking for supplies, but I got cut off from the surface by the dead. I don't know what to do. Kasparov sent me. I assume you're the person he's looking for. I could open a rift gate and get you to safety. You could do that? I can't say that raises my confidence in you, but I don't like the alternatives either. Portal away. Yay. Yeah, these are definitely powdered silver circles. Let's finish out the dank cellar. Maybe we can find that dank kush that's there too. My friends had a good chuckle when I used those words. Dank kush. There were just good laughs all around at yesterday's tabletop session. I won't talk about it too much. I already geek and nerd out enough about science stuff. I don't want to be known for also tabletop stuff. Well, that's not true. At one point, I actually did. I wanted to share tabletop stuff, but I think at the time, people weren't really sure about being on camera, and now, given how hectic our own personal lives are, it's not a very good idea. for me to be recording our tabletop sessions, and besides, I'd really have to curate the things they say. And they swear worse than sailors do. They give sailors a good name for how often they cuss. I think the sailors make me look better by comparison. Just for context. Well, I guess I'm being disingenuous. I have a couple of other chaps in there that don't cuss that much, but they certainly don't bother to hide it either. Alright, Bourbon. I've secured Burwitch. Tell me the next thing you're gonna have us do is, you know, put an end to, the Warden.
Have you found a rift gate in Burwitch? What's the situation out there?
Swarming with Ethereals, but it is secure.
Good work. While you were gone, I dug through some of the files in this office, and I think we have our target. As you are acutely aware, Ethereals can possess humans and bend them to their will. I always had my suspicions, but now I have little doubt. The former warden of this prison is possessed. Well before the Grim Dawn, in fact. There have been countless holes in the prison records, prisoners just disappearing, never to be seen again. The warden's personal logs paint a more complete picture. He's been transferring prisoners into a secret facility underneath his mansion in Burwitch Village for years. What for, I don't know, but I'm sure it wasn't for rehabilitation. There are also several mentions of Ethereals and rift gates. I need you to find this man, or whatever he has become. Warden Krieg owned a mansion in the northern district of Burwitch Village. The logs indicate that his facilities can be reached via the cellar. I'm afraid I don't have more to go on, but if we want to strike back at the ethereal power structure in the region, the Warden is our prime target.
I will end the Warden's life. Thanks for the timely rescue. Kasparov spared no time in putting me back to work. Excellent, boss. Not really. So I'm here for all your schematic needs. Just ask. Alright, so Darlet. I think I mentioned before how you can break down gear for tokens, and the assistant is how we would be doing that. Yeah, Darlet is who I was talking about. I tried very hard to dance around the name. I don't think I got the chance to dance around the identity too well, however. Unfortunately. That being said... Hold on, I hear a lot of thudding outside. I need to go see what that's all about. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I'm back. I am gonna need to call it a little early. I've been trying to fight the, pangs in my stomach for quite a while. I am struggling to do that. So it's probably a good time for me to try to, like, wrap some stuff up. That being said, I definitely want to make sure I am giving you all your fair due, and I show everything there is to show. Trust me, the series will be a little bit more, just a little, not a bunch, but a little more streamlined. Now that we have all of, now that we have, you know, all of the base features unlocked. We can buy dynamite, we can break apart, like, epic gear. We have everything at our disposal. So what I'll likely do is, I know I already promised to do a lot of grinding and then I forget, so that's great. We're going to, well, I'm going to do some grinds off camera that does run the risk of getting levels. If that is the case, if I level up during a grind, I will tell you where I put skill points at, so that I don't, so that I'm not trying to hoodwink you into missing progress. I just want to be able to, grind for good gear, 1. 2, we need tons of crafting materials. We need a lot. So I'll be grinding for all of these lovely components you see off in the left-hand side here. Should be just great. Tons and tons and tons of components. That is what Dawn of Masteries ultimately is. It is a grind fest, but anyone who is playing Dawn of Masteries knows this. And if not, you will soon understand why there are so many options. I want to run you through not only the selection process for gear, because we have blues. We can replace our greens now. But more importantly, I want to run you through what I typically do when I have a whole bunch of epics like this. This is also why I held off on making upgrades or using components right away. Don't know what kind of gear I'd end up using. And if I ended up changing it, yes, you can strip out components, but that is not an easy task. You are not guaranteed... I mean, you can be guaranteed the components, but some components you can't strip out once you use them. You have to be very careful. Okay. First, let's sell our greens, because we're wanting to replace with blues whenever possible. Reorganize. Is there green in here? Doesn't look like it. There are green things, but there aren't magic items. Okay. Now, luckily for us, we kind of know more or less what we're doing, and we have a relic now. So that might help us. We're looking for lightning things or fire things, and cold things as a secondary. So this is probably going to take up most of the rest of the time, so for those who are maybe thinking about, you know, dashing to do something else, now would be the time. I'm mostly doing this for posterity, and I do want to show it off, but really, if you're playing Dawn of Masteries, I'm going to assume you have some inherent knowledge of how Grim Dawn works, so I'm only trying to make sure I cover my bases in terms of new people who have arrived. And I typically start with armor first, and then I worry about a weapon. Typically. Sometimes it's very straightforward, and I know right away what the replacement is. This is not the case. This is definitely not the case this time around. We have too many things to look at. So, armor first. and I typically like to sort. I might sort ahead to a different category ahead of time, just so that I'm like also organizing as I'm looking at various gear pieces. And anything that I'm throwing off to the side here, I realized I put something else there. Anything that I'm throwing to the side is stuff we're gonna look at. The rest, no. The rest gets sold. And I'll likely just put... I should make the distinction for two-handed items, because a two-handed item has more inherent stats on it. Ultimately, at the end of the day, there's no difference. There's no difference in stats between a two-hander or a one-hander if they're of a similar player level and require a similar amount of stats to use. It'll ultimately come down to any granted skills and or eligible components you want. Most casters probably don't want two-handers, if I'm being honest with you. They tend to want to use a one-hander of some kind and an offhand, because you have access to better or readily available components to put on your gear. Essentially is what's happening. Don't worry about... just focus on 2 or 3 things. Some of these are very good for alts. Yeah, there's like a running curse where like you can get stuff for an alt or a couple of alt characters you might have. You can send them back and forth. You can put them in the shared stash. But still, it always irritates me when I get something for another character while I'm intentionally grinding for other things on a different character. This one cares about lightning damage. I have an occultist that cares about acid damage, and it's hard to get acid stuff on her. Really, it is. This is one we can use. Do note that if we do not have the physique to wear it, while we can look at it, it'll have to go in storage. And I'm just kind of looking... Also, it might not be the correct... really, what it comes down to a lot of the time is we tend not to be the correct level for something more than anything else. Nothing to do there except level into it. Which may happen off-camera, by the way. I'll let you know if there are changes in levels when I grind off-camera like this. This would be okay, but we're not a shaman. We don't have shaman skills. And it's not like we can change masteries either. Masteries are what you're stuck with. You have to know that decision at outset. In Grim Dawn baseline, you're functional. You're functional with a weapon. In Grim Dawn, Dawn of Masteries, you need to know what you want at the time. At the time you hit level 10, basically. Or not 10. You need to know at the very next level where you get Masteries. Yeah, you need to know almost immediately. So you don't have a lot of time to think through these, and if you do, it's because you've looked up a build you want to play and go from there. Offhands in due time. Luckily, this isn't World of Warcraft where you have innate restrictions on gear based on your mastery chosen. Now you can use anything. You're limited by whatever's offered on gear, not what you choose to play as. And there are pros and cons to each. World of Warcraft is quite frankly just governed by different rules. It's an MMO. This is not. You can play with other people, but I think it's 2 players tops. Is like a cap. I like how this has been differentiated into Classic Necromancer now. Classic is like D2 Necromancer, I think, and Necromancer without Classic is D3, if I'm remembering correctly. Okay, so out of these, we lose a little bit of damage everywhere. We don't have any fire damage to use. We gain defensive ability, and that's really about it. If we were to, say, swap out Storm Crystal for Fire Nova, we could use this right away. As it stands, though, we're kind of... and we also lose some energy regen as well. So, I don't know about this. This one looks a little closer to what we're using, but we have to level up into it. And we don't have these skills. But I do like this one more than these others. Okay, we can put that back now. Let's see if I like where our main hand is going. We can actually just sort that off to the side. So, Lightning Rod. I don't care about the vitality damage. That's two useless pieces of information. We do lose some physical damage conversion. Nope, we lose 1%. Instead of Lightning Nova, or Lightning Bolt, we get Lightning Nova. We do get damage for using this. I don't know. And then for this, pure lightning damage, chain lightning when hit. We don't want to be getting hit a lot. We do lose physical damage conversion, but we get more offensive ability? I don't know. Tough choices. Let's see if the two-handers offer anything better. Elemental damage. This helps everything. Internal trauma. That's different. I don't think we have anything for internal trauma. That is its own damage type. It is a lot of immediate damage right away. We do also even get casting speed for this, which we get casting speed in the offhand. Okay. This is a very strong contender. This one, nah, that's an easy toss back. It does have lightning damage and offensive ability, but we didn't use any of the Titan Quest Masteries, so this is kind of worthless to us. Titan Quest Masteries are some of the best ones to use, however, because they are hyper-focused. They maybe do two things tops. So you're certain to find something you like. This one is Lightning Physical Pierce, Attack Speed, All Retaliation, and Elemental Resist. Yeah, but we're gonna be waiting a long time to use this. Okay. So, it comes down to Arcana's Death Wand is a very good mace. And physical damage converted to elemental is a nice plus. We need to look at, like, offhands, though, if we want to be able to determine. This even includes shields, but this is an easy toss back. With shields versus offhands, you're trading defense for utility and cooldown. If you need defense, don't be afraid to get a shield. Your build should probably have room for one somewhere. But, if at all possible, get your offhand first. Get your tome, get your dolls, your rocks, your skulls, whatever. Get that first. Cold, Aether, Frostburn. None of those pair with our main hand weapon whatsoever. Even if we were to keep the gun, it wouldn't pair well at all. We'd have to change what main hand we're using, and I don't recommend that. Um, 10% on attack, flash freeze. does reduce fire resistance, which could be good. This could be good. 2.7% energy, 18% skill cooldown reduction, 20%, or not 20, but 20 offensive ability. That's not bad. That is not bad. We don't have any offensive ability on our rare offhand. So if we pair these together, both of our skills get a slight boost, but they get it in different places in different ways. And it's worth noting that we don't even lose. We lose casting speed. That's the biggest trade-off with this. We'd be looking to get it back on our spell blade here. As for Maven's Tome, this is similar to the offhand we have now. We lose only 2% casting speed. We gain energy regen we didn't have before. We gain health, we gain offensive ability. This one's strong. This one's very strong. Percent is a little harder to tell. We'd have to look and see what changes. If that change is greater than 3 energy regen, then Maven's will be worse. And if not, Maven's will be better than the offhand we have now. Sorry, I am kind of talking through my build decisions here, or like, I'm looking at pieces of gear. I try not to do this on camera, but it's been a while. It's been months since we've gone through it, A, and B, I figured as long as I'm talking through my decisions, that's better than just staring at gear until I find something worth looking for, else I just cut it out. There wouldn't be a need to watch this. So I'm trying to talk you through what I'm doing. Let me find the energy modifier. That would be right here. We lose 10 points. It is worth noting that we do have energy regeneration in other spots. Let's try putting on the tome. And let's try adjusting. Let's try adjusting these. What about... Okay, and 4% is awful. So we lose 10 whole energy. And we don't even get... We do get more casting speed. That is something worth considering. We also lose spirit, I think. With our setup we have now. And then versus... either one of these two tomes. Well, you lose a little bit of regen for some power. This is a toughie. I think what I'm going to do is go for the elemental damage. Because here's the thing I'm thinking of, right? Is that with the increase in elemental damage affects all of our builds, period. Notice that we have burn, frostburn, and electrocute as well on top of that. So all of our dots get impacted the same way as our other, as our elemental damage does. We get more physical damage, which is also converted to elemental damage. We get energy. We lose 6% cooldown reduction, but that might honestly not be too bad, considering that in the long run, we want to be focusing on casting speed more than we want cooldowns, because our bread and butter spells don't have cooldowns. They're limited only by the global cooldown plus casting speed. So that's what that's probably what's going to happen. We're going to pick this choice. I may regret that later, but you gotta break eggs sometime. You can't always just keep all your options forever. You do have to make choices. Next up, we're going to put these over here so I remember. And these can get thrown back into the pool. And we're gonna look at... We're gonna look at gloves now. We're gonna sort out gloves. We're also gonna sort out boots at the same time. Although we honestly don't really need to sort... If we find elemental boots, that'll be a lot better than what we have right now. As the fire damage does not help us at all. At all. We're definitely better off with other options. Ooh, this is way better and I can wear it immediately. Need to look at the energy regen to see what we lose. It's back on 2. Okay, we actually gained something. 12% to all damage means we lose a little bit of damage everywhere. We gain defensive ability, we gain cold damage specifically. I like it. Do we have other things to consider, though? No, not really. We don't care about the vitality damage. That's the problem. If we did, this would be a snap keep. But I think this is going to be a tentative upgrade is what it is. We'll wear this, and then if I level into 30 in the meantime, then I'll switch to the blue cloud raiment. Okay, that makes things nice and simple. Pants. I don't think we had any good candidates out of pants, and if we do, we certainly couldn't wear it. All damage. We gain health. We lose health regen, but we should never be relying on it in the first place. I will be right back. Okay, sorry about that. I promise that should be the last distraction that occurs. I said I would have to call the stream early, and I wasn't kidding, but I do need to, finish what I'm doing. So I'm gonna try to go through it quick. We'll sort pieces of gear one at a time, instead of two at a time. And mainly what we're looking for is lightning or fire damage. Well, actually, at the moment, it should probably be lightning or cold damage first, and then other stuff after that. Attack speed is probably just as beneficial as cast speed, so we'll grab our lovely pair of gloves. It's gonna look a little hodgepodgey until we sort of until we sort of have these things settled. Boots tend to have defensive skills on them. It's kind of rare, or they have very niche offensive skills. I tend to look more at the defensive stats on boots than I do offensive ones. Of course, any offensive stats that are on boots are good finds indeed. I think this is probably one of those slots that isn't going to stay around very long, but we have to put... Actually, we don't even need to put something here, but I was at least wanting to look for pants. I really don't know. We lose the health regen, but that's never something you want to rely on. We'll probably take... They're the exact same leggards, actually. It's just a matter of, it's just a matter of, like, the exact stats. This one is clearly the better pick. We'll pick these. Then... We need to look through the helmets, which will only have a few. Just a few. Lightning Stormcaller's helmet. Stormcaller's helmet is a clear pick. However, we don't exactly have the means to utilize the stuff that is on this. We essentially get 5 pieces of text rather than 5 pieces of text rather than 7, and we kind of lose out on defensive stats. But that's true of all these. You'd have to get something like the Tarnhelm to not have to worry about that, and I don't know if the Tarnhelm's a good idea. This one is just a straight up better upgrade, because it has stuff we care about more on it. We don't care that much about frostburn damage, so I think we'll take the circlet. Put that over here. As soon as I get my feces coagulated. Belts. I only have 2 that are worth looking at. Physical damage can be cold damage in this case, so let's swap belts. Really, we're trying to get rid of as many greens as possible. That's really what's happening here, is we're wanting to upgrade gear. That's what we want to do. And to do that, we have to be willing to make some number of sacrifices. For now, this shoulder is just way worse. Shoulder might be the only thing that we don't get to keep. And you really don't even want Mantle of Channeling. It doesn't do enough for you. Rings, then. Gotta set aside rings. And we really only have rings in the top half. We can ignore anything that's here. Health and pet damage. This one's useful just overall. We can wear 2 rings, so you know, we can make 2 replacements. Sorry, I'm trying to think and talk, and that is not the easiest skill in the world. Not at all. Oh, we had another belt here. Okay, I'm thinking way too fast now. When you think, you hurry up and wait, right? That's usually how it goes. I'm hurrying up in my own head so I can wait later. I suppose then, these are... The rings that I've set aside are pretty good. One helps with casting speed, and the other is pure elemental damage output. We'll get offensive ability, like, it's just good stuff, and we get 8% extra casting speed on top of everything else, because this is a Titan quest item. It's great. It's great. We do lose quite a bit of text on these amulets. Don't get me started about the medals. Those might be a long time coming for replacements. Pierce Elemental on an amulet is good. Cunning helps with hit rate. Offensive ability helps with hit rate. We do lose some health and energy regen. That's the one thing I'm worried about. What is our energy regeneration looking like? 25. Yeah, I don't know. I want a minimum amount, really. As for this medal, I only have 1 medal to make comparisons on, and it's a clear loser. Okay. We have our items. So, now, to demonstrate the... First, we need to go buy dynamite. We need to go buy dynamite, and we need to do some selling and some counting. We have We don't want to be selling that one or breaking it down. 3, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 40. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 50. 2, 4, 6, 8, 60. 3, 6, 9, 70. I'd say around 75, 76. No, that can't be right. That's not right. That can't be right. That seems closer to like 50 pieces of dynamite, and if I need more, we'll get more. I'm thinking about in terms of like, I don't know, maybe that is right, because we have to remember, the rings and amulets and medals all take up 1, and that's 8 off the bat. There are 8, 9, 10, 12, 14 in here, and then you have 3, 6... Yeah, 50 seems closer to correct. I don't know what I'm thinking about 70.
Anything I can help you?
No, Kasparov. You don't need to worry about it. So, we don't want salvage, we want dismantle. The reason we want dismantle is because it actually breaks down gear. Salvage is if you have a component or you have gear and you don't care about the component. Sometimes components come baked in. Not often. Transmute is if we have a set and we would like a different item out of that set. There are two different options. One is transmute a set piece into another part of the same set, or you transmute a set piece into a part of another random set of a comparable level. Because of the way that Dawn of Masteries works, I really don't recommend this second option. You don't know what you're gonna get. I recommend grinding for the sets, and really you can tinker with Grimmest to your liking, and you will find something that is stable. Promise. Promise. Now we want dismantle. And this time you didn't get any epic tokens, but this is fine. It's a 50-50 chance that you'll get something. You'll get an epic token out of an epic piece of gear. Please note if they were legendary gear, which is purple, dark purple, not light purple like scraps. We are not getting lucky on tokens. If the gear was purple instead of blue, we would be getting legendary tokens instead. Here's one. See, 50% odds. And I don't care enough about my alts that I want to preserve any gear for them. Those are not an on-camera playthrough. Those are whatever coin feels like it playthroughs. If you want to quickly, do this, once you dismantle, you hit shift left click, and you will grab the items and place them in an appropriate section. Sometimes you can get other crafting materials. This is one of the ways I get Blood of Chthon relatively easily. It's just by putting things in the gear grinder here and going to town. I imagine we'll come up with something like, I don't know, maybe 5 or 8 different kinds of components. Lots of scrap. That's a really common thing, by the way. Yeah, lots of scrap, lots of components. It does take bits, but we have bits to spare. If we were doing this base, I believe you only get access to salvage to start with. You need to actually, you need to go through Act 2 to get Dismantle, and Act 3, 4, or 5 to get Transmute. If my memory serves me correct from when I dug it up last time. Maybe my count was right. We're gonna find out. And again, I'm only showing this once. It has been a while, over 2 months, and on top of that, I'm assuming some level of newness and some level of skill with Grim Dawn, Dawn of Masteries. Maybe you heard about this from a friend and they convinced you that you shouldn't play the base game, you should just go right to this. I want to be there to cover that possibility. However faint or small it might be. You know what? I'm thinking my count was correct, and I just doubted. I doubted my own ability. That happens a lot, by the way. I'll do something, I'm like, no, there's no way. That seems wrong. Like I'm overthinking it, but ironically, questioning it led me to overthink and underbuy the amount of dynamite we need. Almost, well, about 2/3 of the way there. Might as well stop and actually buy the correct amount of dynamite we need this time. The math should be a lot more believable this time.
Come see what's left of my wares.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36... I want to say like 42? Sorry, I kind of lost track when the tooltip covered up my counting.
Iron well spent.
It's a lot of blues. A lot of blues.
You're back. Need something broken down?
Yes, I do, Garlet. I do need things broken down. I need my will to live broken down. No, I'm joking. No, I don't need that. This is probably the most tedious part. I mean, yes, if I were grabbing all the gear, the most tedious part is selling, but once you turn on the loot filter, this would be the next most tedious thing you have to do. Is just, breaking down gear. Are we actually gonna run out of space? Oh no! Did I overestimate the cost on the, or did I underestimate the costs? Might have. Have to start thinking about what we want to dismantle. Oh, and I definitely bought too much dynamite. It also varies depending on level and what it does. Well, the cost to dismantle definitely varies. Sometimes it's like 1,000. Sometimes it's 250. Sometimes it's 500. Yeah, way too much dynamite. And look at all that scrap, too. 400 scrap. Yeah, we won't be needing scrap for a good long time. Yeah, way too much. We only need 3, 6. We can sell 7 dynamite. And probably not even... I'm sorry, make that 8 dynamite. 3, 5, 7. We could sell 6. Excuse me, 6. I'm a STEM major. I know how to count. Promise. I think I bought them all. I just sold them all. That's alright. We would barely have been able to break down, we would have barely been able to break down 3 of those. So, we'll just,
Got something you need stashed.
put our components in here. Put all these tokens in here. And then return the rest of these to the bank so they can be decompiled and broken down at a later date. I'll definitely have to grind to make sure we have cash. Okay. My apologies for ending the stream early, guys. I really am. But my stomach, my gut is not happy with me at all. I don't know what I did wrong. I had a normal meal. I don't know if it's the taquitos or if it was the Arby's or both or neither. I don't know. But whatever it is, my stomach not happy. Gotta call it. Thank you guys so much. I'm sorry for all of the long BRBs. It was mostly due to, like, food stuff happening. If you couldn't tell. I was being real vague about it, and that's still kind of vague, but it gives you a better understanding of what I was going through, during today's stream. Depending, I might push back the Twitch stream until, like, 8 or 9. I need time for my gut to cool down and prepare for tonight's dinner. Gotta do both of those things. Still gotta eat. But yeah, seriously, thank you. I'm glad to be doing this on YouTube. If you want to get in touch with me, best ways to do that are through not through Discord, but through Twitter. I'm active on Twitter. I should have a Linktree link in the description of the VOD, as well as the description of the stream. You know, read the description. It's the first place you should look, is the description after the title. I know some people have already tuned out and are mostly hearing me rather than seeing me, and that's fine. That's fine, I have no problems with that. Yeah, just, you'll find whatever you need in the description, and if not, you can just search up CoinStamp on Twitter, and you'll get access to me that way. If you haven't done so already, and you like this content, although I can't imagine why, due to the, amount of burbing I had to do, feel free to leave me a follow, hit that notification bell, that sub bell, so that you, don't miss out on any more or any of my Grim Dawn streams. We will be doing this for a while, until the game is complete, and then I will figure out what else I can bring you guys on YouTube. I will see you guys. If you don't want to come over to Twitch, that's twitch.tv/coinstamp. If you don't want to do that for any reason, I will see you guys next Friday with some more Grim Dawn. And with that, I will see you guys later. Take care, and bye-bye. Stay safe out there.